Hello everyone, my name is No Fabric and welcome to another 100 days challenge on Minecraft Hardcore on 1.18. I work around 16 hours on that video and for you it's only 1 second to subscribe, so subscribe. Also, I have a hardcore series and I recommend you to watch that. Day 301. In the morning of that day, I continued to place a lot of sand to continue to make the giant sand circle. I spent that entire day by placing a lot of sand and finally, in the end of day 303, I finished to place all sand which I need to that giant circle. Day 304. In the morning, I started to make some section because in that way I can remove the water very easy with sponge. Because I remain without sand, I go to my desert to collect a lot of sand. And I collect sand until to the end of the day. Day 306. I start the day again by collecting more sand. Because I remain without food, I go to kill some fish. That's very weird, but I found a lapis lazuli ore block on the surface. I don't understand how is that possible, but that block is here. The end of the day is here and I fill up the 3 shulker box with sand. 307. In the morning I go to my gold farm to repair my all items. And after that I continue to place sand. End of the day is here and I complete a big part. Day 308. Today I start directly to the morning to place a lot of sand. I spend the entire day to place sand and in the end of the day I place a lot of more sand. Day 309. In the morning I start again to place a lot of sand. The night is here and I finish to make some other section. Day 310. Because I use my old sand, in that day I need to go to collect a lot of sand from my desert. And to the end of the day I finish to fill up my 3 shulker. Day 311 to 312. Because I need to place a lot of sand, I start directly from the morning to work. In the end of day 312 I finish to complete a big area. Day 313. Again I'm in a desert and I collect sand. When I arrive back to the ocean monument I start to beat some fish because I need food. And after that, to the end of the day, I complete another area. 340. That morning, I continue to place a lot of sand to my ocean monument. Spend again the entire day to place sand, and in the end of the day, I place a lot of more sand. 315. Morning, I go to my gold farm because I want to repair my shovel. And after that, I go to collect sand. End of the day is here, and I fill up again my 3 shulker box. 316. Again in the day, I continue to place sand. End of the day, I complete another big area. Day 317. Again, I continue to place sand. After that, to the end of the day, I go to my gold farm to repair my shovel. 318. In the morning again, I continue to collect sand. At the end of the day, I finish to fill up 3 shulker boxes with sand. Day 319. In the morning, I start again to place sand and I hope that's enough to complete that remaining area. The end of day 320 is here and finally I finish to place the old sand which I need to that ocean monument. 321. Because in the previous day I finished to place the old sand which I need to that ocean monument, in that day I start to remove the water with my sponge. The end of the day is here and I finish to remove the water from 2 sections. 322. Morning I go directly to dry my sponge. After that I return to removing the water. I work until the night and I remove the water from a giant section. Day 323. In that morning I start to collect my wet sponge from that giant section. If I collect it, I go in there to dry that. 324. In that morning I start again to remove a lot of water. I spend the entire day to remove water and to the end of the day I remove an incredibly big area. Day 325. Because in the previous day I placed an enormous number of sponge, now I need to collect my wet sponge. I spend the entire day to collect my sponge and at the end of the day I succeed to make that. Day 326 to 327. In the morning I go in nether and I start to dry my sponge. And after that I start to remove the water. I use my old sponge and I remove a big part of the water. And to the rest of the day I collect back my sponge. Day 328. In the morning I go home to make some fireworks because I don't have too much. After that I go in nether to repair my items. And after that I dry my old sponge. And after that to the end of the day I continue to remove water. And 39. In the morning again I continue to remove water with my sponge. The end of the day is here and I succeed to remove a lot of water. Day 330. In the morning I start to collect my old wet sponge and after that I go in nether to dry my old sponge. Day 331. In the morning I start again to remove the water. I spend the entire day to remove the water and at the end of the day I finish to remove another big part of water. Day 332. In the morning of that day, I start to collect my old sponge. I spend the entire day to collect my sponge, and in the end of the day, I start to dry that sponge. Day 333. In that day, I start again to remove the water. I use my old sponge and I finish to remove the water from one section and a half. At the end of the day, I finish to collect my old sponge. Day 334. In that morning I work to dry my wet sponge. And after that I return to the overworld and I start to remove more water. End of the day is here and finally I finish to remove the water from another section. Day 335. In the morning of that day I start to collect my wet sponge. I spend that entire day to remove the sponge from that two giant section. Day 336. In the morning I start to dry my sponge. After that I go to remove the water from that two last section. That's incredible, but finally I managed to remove the old water from that ocean monument. 337 to 340. In that day I decided to start to remove the sand, and I start to make that. I spent another very long time, but finally I managed to remove the old sand from that ocean monument. The end of the day is here and I managed to lighting the entire ocean monument to prevent the mob spawning. 341. In that day, I decided to return to my island and to continue to work on the iron farm. Today, I work a little bit on the tunnel, which in I will transport the villagers. Day 342. I go in the lush cave and I start to collect a lot of clay for my villagers. And I made that in the entire day. Day 343. In that day I start to make trade with my villagers to sell clay and buy a lot of quartz. And I start to place my quartz to smelt. At the end of the day I will start to work on the platform where the future iron golem will spawn. Day 344. Because I need more quartz, I go back to my villagers and I start to make trade with that to get more quartz. And I place the quartz to smelt. The end of the day is here and I gather a lot of quartz. 45. In that day I decided to make the all platforms and only after that to start to transport the villagers. The end of the day is here and I finished to make the all platforms and the rest on fire. Day 346. Morning I took some slime because I need sticky piston and after that I go to place that. And after that, at the end of the day I go to chop down a lot of tree. Day 347. In that morning I decided to go to start to work on the place for the villagers. In the end of the day I finished to make some place for the villagers. 148. In the morning I go to collect some birchwood because I need that. The end of the day is here and I finished to make the old place for the villagers. Day 349. In that morning I start to transport my villagers to the iron farm. At the end of the day I finished to move that very close to the iron farm. Day 350. Early in the morning I start to transport my villagers up to the iron farm. That's incredibly hard because the villagers are go non-stop in the opposite direction of his place. Finally, to the end of the day I succeed to move the 3 villagers to his place. Day 351. I start the morning on the iron farm and I continue to transport my villagers up to the iron farm. I work until the night and I finally transport the old villagers for that platform. Day 352. In the morning I start to transport my zombie to the iron farm. After a little bit time I arrive with the first zombie to the iron farm and I succeed to place that in his place. At the end of the day I arrive with another zombie. 353. In the morning I start to make some tube which in I will transport the villagers. I spend the entire day by transporting villagers. In the end of the day I finish with all of them. Day 354. I start the day by transporting more villagers to the iron farm. And I continue to do that to the end of the day. 355. Again, I start the day by transporting more villagers. That work with that villagers is so hard. After that, I finish with that layer and I start to remove the tubes. And after that, I start to go with the zombie to his place. At the end of the day, I finish to place the zombies. 356. In the morning, I start to chop down some trees, and after that I continue to work on the spawning platform. And after that I start to test the system. Day 357. In that day I continue to work on the iron farm. After that I modify the base because that represents a little problem of that farm. And to the end of the day I go to chop down some tree. Day 358. In the morning, I wash my iron farm and that all work perfectly. After that, I go to my gold farm for some gold, transform the nugget into ingot, and finally I get a lot of gold. I arrive back in the overworld and I start to change the zombie which was killed by the iron golem by mistake. To the end of the day, I finish to change that. 359. In that day, I start to chop down some trees. And I spend the entire day with that. Day 360. That's another day of tree chopping. I spend the entire day with that and to the end of the day I gather a lot of wood. Day 361. In that day, I decided me to start to work the super smelter. First off is to make a lot of chests, and after that I start to make a lot of hoppers, and I start to place that. After that I finished to make the distribution system and a little part of the bamboo storage. I work here until the night and I finished to make the first layer of the giant storage. Day 362. In the morning I take my oil wood, I make chest and I start to work on the giant storage. I use my own materials and I finish to make that big part, and after that I go to collect more wood because I need that for more chests. At the end of the day I gather a lot of wood. Day 363, that's another day wherein I collect a lot of wood. I spend the entire day with that, and to the end of the day I gather a lot of wood. Day 364, that's another day which I will spend by collecting wood. The end of the day is here and I gather a lot of more wood. Day 365, because I chopped down my entire forest. In that day I start to plant a lot of trees. I spend the entire day by planting trees and finally I finish. Day 366, in the morning I took my oil wood and I go to my super furnace. And here I make a lot of chests, and after that I go to work on a giant storage. And to the end of the day I finish to make a big part of that giant storage. Day 367, in the morning I start to collect a lot of cobblestone, and to the night I made a lot of terraforming. Day 368, in the morning I took a lot of iron and I start to make a lot of hoppers. And after that I continue to work on the super smelter storage. And after that on the bamboo farm collection system. The rest of the day I spend by buying quartz from my villagers. Day 369, I took my old quartz, I make slabs, and after that I continue to work on the collection system of the bamboo farm. The rest of the day I spent by collecting redstone. 370, I start the day by make block of redstone, and after that I go to place that. After that I return to my gold farm because I need gold for power rails. After that I return in the overworld, I made some power rails and I start to place that. At the end of day 371 I finish to place a lot of power rails. 372, in the morning I go back to my gold farm because I need more gold. End of the day is here and I get a lot of gold. 373, in the morning I make a lot of power rails and after that I go to place that. I finished to make a big part of the collection system, but unfortunately I don't have enough gold and I need to go back to the gold farm. Day 374, I start a day on the gold farm and I gather a lot of gold. And to the end of the day I gather a lot of gold. 375, I start a day by making a lot of power rail and after that I go to place that. After I finish to make the collection system, to the end of the day I work a little bit more on the storage. 376, I start the day by collecting more wood because I need a lot of for the super smelter. To the end of that day I collect a lot of wood. 377, the morning of that day again I start to collect more wood. I work until the night and I get a lot of wood. 378, I start the day by looking at the iron farm, and here I need to make more 2 layers of that iron farm because now I have a lot of villagers. I start to work on another layer of the iron farm until the night and I finish to arrive with the villagers to the iron farm. Day 379, I start a day by talking with some iron golems which are not want to fall in the water. After that I go to my villagers and I start to transport that up to the iron farm. And to the end of the day I arrive with some villagers to the iron farm. Day 380, I start the morning again by transporting more villagers to the iron farm. End of the day I arrive with a lot of more villagers to the iron farm, and after that I start to remove the tubes which I transport the villagers. Day 381. In the morning, I start to transport 2 zombies to the iron farm. I arrive up with the first one and that unfortunately are die. At the end of the day, I succeed to place another zombie here, and after that I start to destroy the tube which I transported. Day 382. In the morning, I start to work on the system which I will push down the iron golems. After a little bit time, I finish to make that in the both side. That farm I product an incredible number of iron golems. I spend the next part of the day by collecting a lot of wood. Day 383. I place some glass to make the villagers to stay closer to each one. And after that I continue to collect more wood. Day 384. In the morning I decided me to continue to work on the storage of that super smelter because now I have a lot of wood. And I start by making a lot of chests and hoppers. And now I continue to work on the storage. I work until the night and I complete a big area. Day 385. In the morning, I decided me to transform my villagers in zombie villagers, and after that to heal that to get a discount. I make some golden apples and I start to work on some weakness potion. The rest of the day I spent at the gold farm to get some gold. Day 386. In the morning, I make a lot of golden apples and the first splash potion of weakness. And after that, I start to transform back the zombie villagers in normal villagers to get a discount. So I continue that with more other villagers. And to the end of the day, I finish transform a lot of more villagers. 387. In the morning, I continue to transform more other villagers. And some more. And I start to transform the villagers for the second time. To the end of the day, I get a lot of discounts. 188. In the morning, I took some clay and after that I go to my villagers to max out the villager levels. After I sell a lot of clay, I get a lot of emeralds and block of quartz. 389. In the morning, I go in Nether and I go to my gold farm to gather some gold. And to the end of the day, I gather a lot of gold. 390. In the morning, I make some golden apples and after that I will continue to transform my villagers to get a big discount. And I transform the zombie villager back in normal villager. At the end of the day, I make some farmers because I need golden carrot and I transform that from zombie villager back in normal villager. Day 391. In the morning, I start to make some trade with the farmers because I want to max out that. And after a little bit time, I get some golden carrot. After that, at the end of the day, I start to sell clay and buy quartz. 192. In the morning, I start to chop down some tree. I spend the entire day with that and I got a lot of wood. Day 393. In the morning, I start to plant a lot of trees. To the end of the day, I finish to plant so much tree. Day 394. In the morning, I start to transport more villagers to the iron farm. The day is here and I arrive with a lot of villagers to the iron farm. Day 395. In that day, I will continue to move the villagers up to the iron farm. Day 96. In the morning, I continue to move more villagers up to the iron farm. At the end of the day, I finished to move the villagers for that lair. Day 397. In that morning, I start to move the zombie up to the iron farm. I arrive up with the first one, and after a little bit time, I finish to complete that platform. And now the iron farm is finished. Day 398. In the morning, I started to work on a better timer for that iron farm. I finished the timer, and now that iron farm are product an enormous number of iron golems. To the end of the day, I made a stronger system to kill the iron golems. 399 to 400. Because I finished the giant iron farm, now I decided me to start to make some terraforming on that island. The first step is to remove the lava. And after that, I start to remove some stone layers. After a little bit time, my biggest durability is gone out and I finished to remove a lot of stone. I check the chest where I got the iron and I can say that iron farm is very efficient. That was the next 100-day challenge on Minecraft Hardcore on 1.18. If you like that video, I recommend you to like, share and subscribe because that helped me a lot. I was in a fabric and I wish you a legendary day.